What's happening, you sweet, sentient meatbags? Trumpeter Bobby Spellman here for another endlessly exciting episode of Trumpet with Bob. The trumpet is known for its brilliant sound, its wide range of tonal colors, and the way that a great trumpet player can coax the very essence of the human condition from this brass plumbing. Now, one of the most exciting things about the nature of the way the trumpet is played is the way that we are able to articulate on the trumpet. Now, many people have said over time that trumpet and drums have sort of a primal connection, and I think there's a lot to be said for that. And I think one of the reasons for that is because with trumpet, unlike some other wind instruments, or perhaps in a different way than other wind instruments, you really have the ability, first of all, to create a very strong attack on the instrument and a very rhythmic attack because of how directly your lips are interacting with the mouthpiece and the trumpet itself. And the other thing about it is it enables you to really get a very wide range of possible timbres out of the articulation process itself. So there are a couple of questions that I've been asked many times by students of mine who are beginning to play the trumpet about articulation that I wanted to cover, but this also gets into some territory involving sort of the subtle ways that you can shape your sound with your tongue and the position of your tongue inside the roof of your mouth. And the interaction of your tongue and the mouthpiece and the trumpet itself. So we're going to talk a little bit about the fundamentals of articulation and different ways you can get different colors out of your articulation in order to really coax the great sounds from your trumpet and be able to play in a rhythmical fashion and also a very sweet and lyrical way. So, without further ado, let's jump into some of the parts of the mouth and the way that you should approach tonguing as you get into playing the trumpet. One of the most common questions I'm asked by my beginner students is, where should the tip of my tongue be when I'm articulating on the trumpet? There's some people that will intuit this, but I think it's worth really being very specific about the position of your tongue in your mouth in order to really get the most out of your articulation. So to begin, we're going to talk a little bit about the different parts of the inside of your mouth, and particularly the roof of your mouth. So we're going to use my little friend Scully here. What you'll notice is the roof of your mouth is made up of two parts, the soft palate and the hard palate. Yeah, we're going to get up close and personal here. Your soft palate is way back here. It sort of blends into where your uvula is in your throat. That little meaty punching bag back here. But now your hard palate is going to be right up here. It's a more bony section, and this leads into your teeth here. This is useful to know because as you can feel around the inside of your mouth with your tongue, you can feel these different parts. And this will give you an idea of where the tip of your tongue wants to be in order to get that articulation. So, what I always tell my students for the maximum agility with your tongue is to make sure that the tip of your tongue is touching the roof of your mouth where your teeth meet the hard palate. That is to say, the point at which your teeth meet the roof of your mouth. So, if we use this as an example, the tip of your tongue wants to be slapping right around here. Now, for most people, that's exactly where you would use, where your tongue would hit if you're just saying the letter T. Ta, ta, ta. Ta, ti, ta, tu, to, ta. No matter what you're doing, you can find the tip of your tongue right here. That tip of your tongue wants to be touching the top of your mouth where your teeth meet the roof of your mouth. Again, just as if you were saying ta, ta, ta. That will give you a clear articulation, and in my view, that's going to enable you to very quickly articulate when you need to. One common mistake among beginner trumpet players is that people will often, instead of touching the tongue to the roof of your mouth where your teeth meet the roof of your mouth, will instead put the tongue through the teeth like thu, 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 thu. Now, the goal in tonguing, the goal in articulation is to separate that airstream. So if your airstream is moving consistently, you want your tongue to be able to separate that airstream quickly. If you are putting your tongue through the middle of your teeth, you're going to get a much more aggressive and sometimes sloppy sound, and it's going to slow down your ability to articulate over that airstream. It might sound a little bit more like this. So you want to make sure as you're playing that you're not sticking your tongue through your teeth, but rather just lightly touching your tongue to the roof of your mouth where your teeth meet the roof of your mouth. Another common mistake people will make when beginning to play the trumpet is as you learn to articulate, oftentimes people will start every note with the air. Now, this is going to be impossible later on when you have to articulate fast phrases, and also it just is going to burn you out. You're going to win, it's going to be hard. You're going to get winded trying to push all that air, but also you're not going to create as clear an articulation. So if I were to start each note with my air rather than my tongue, it might end up sounding something like this. Now, I'm able to start the note, but it's got a very strange sort of intonation to it, and you're not getting the clear sound that you want. What you really want is your articulation, regardless of whether you're articulating or slurring, just connecting all the notes without tonguing, your airstream wants to behave the exact same way. So regardless of whether you're playing a scale like this, or like this, your air wants to be doing the same thing, and all you're doing is using your tongue to skip over that airstream to briefly interrupt the airstream and to create a clear beginning to each of those notes. Once again, to demonstrate what I'm doing without the trumpet, you can kind of see the way that the air is interrupted. So I'm going to take a deep breath, push the air through my head, and I'm just going to separate that airstream with the tip of my tongue. And it sounds like this. And that's all there is to it. It takes a little practice, certainly coordinating your tongue and your fingers and really getting a sense for the way that you can use your tongue to articulate those notes, but there's really not much more to it than just trying to imagine the ta sound and trying to separate that airstream and start your notes clearly. Take a little practice, but with not a lot of time, I think that you'll find that you're off to the races and creating some beautiful notes on the trumpet. Now, once you get a handle on that clear ta articulation, there are a couple of things that you can do to soften that sound if you're trying to play more legato phrases or some more lyrical passages or ballads and things of that nature that may be a little bit sweeter than, say, march music or heavily articulated funky music, something like that. All right, so the way that I like to think about softening my articulation is to move my tongue slightly back along the hard palate on the top of my head. So rather than articulating right where my teeth meet the roof of my mouth, ta ta ta, I will move the tip of my tongue back a little bit in order to create more of a da 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 sound. So if you think of speaking the syllables ta versus da, you can feel where the tip of your tongue moves back a little bit, da 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 da, where it's going to give you a little bit of a softer sound as you're playing on the trumpet. If you take that even a little bit farther back, la 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 la, you can start to get into the sort of la sound that you would use if you were doodle tonguing, for example. And that's a little bit later on, but you can check out my video on doodle tonguing if you want to check out a little bit more of that. But let me give you a quick example of the difference between the ta articulation and the da articulation, where the da is a little bit softer. So first, I'll play the scale. I'm just going to do a simple C major scale so you can hear this. I'm going to play ta the first time, and then I'm going to do a little bit more of a da sound so you can hear the difference. That's ta 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 ta. I'm going to bring my tongue back just a little bit in my head to create more of a da sound. You'll hear how that sounds. I'm still able to articulate and separate the notes, but it's going to be a little bit of a softer sound that you can use when you're playing ballads. Between using the crisp, clean articulation of the ta sound and the softer da sound, you have the opportunity to really shape the way that you begin the notes and to create very different timbres in the way that you're playing, in the phrases that you're using, and in the music that you're playing. And this gives you a lot of flexibility and a lot of possibilities with the way that you're articulating, which is one of the reasons that the trumpet has such a sort of wide color in the sound and so many different ways to play any particular passage. So I'll give you a quick musical example of two different ways that I might articulate, and then I'll try to blend the two of them. So, for example, if I were going to play something a little bit more rhythmically aggressive, I might use some more of the ta sound. So with that, my goal is really to hit those rhythms, and in that instance, I'm really trying to use that ta articulation. Once again, there are different approaches that you can use to tonguing. Some people will talk about, for example, anchor tonguing, which is a conversation for a whole other video, and other methods. But in my view, the fastest articulation really comes from using the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth where your teeth meet the roof of your mouth and the hard palate. So once again, I can get some pretty fast articulation with that. Now, if I'm going to be playing softer music, or if I want to make a more legato articulation, if I'm trying to connect the notes, I'm going to use a little bit more of that da sound. Between those two approaches and all of these sort of variations in between, you can really get a lot of different colors out of the instrument, and you can approach that rhythmic approach to articulation in many different ways in order to create beautiful music and express the essence of the human condition. All right, gang, I hope that helped in your quest for articulation excellence. I'll spend a little bit more time in the future on ways of blending different kinds of articulations, single tonguing, double tonguing, triple tonguing, doodle tonguing, etc., etc. And you can check out some of my other videos on double tonguing, triple tonguing, and doodle tonguing if you want a little bit more information on that, as well as jazz tonguing, which is a totally different thing altogether. All right, gang, I hope that helps. Have a wonderful time practicing, and we'll catch you on the next one. See ya! Trumpet with Bob. Alright friends, thanks so much for checking out this video. I hope it helps in your pursuit of the majesty of musical self-expression. If you like what we're doing here, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Big thanks to all the new subscribers. We really appreciate your support, and we're going to keep putting out some new videos for you. The Ridgewood School of Music is now accepting new students for lessons online as well as in person in the Brooklyn, Queens, and greater New York City area. You can find us on our website at www.ridgewoodschoolofmusic.com, and you can send us a message, and we would love to help you achieve all of your musical dreams. For some more musical fun, you can also follow me, Bobby Spellman, on Instagram at Bob Spellman, or in any of the other social media platforms listed in the description below. Thanks again for checking out this video. Happy practicing, and we'll catch you next time.